The week she gave him everything. And hid the truth from herself. The night everything changed began with humiliation. Emma Lawson stood quietly at the edge of the luxury hotel ballroom, holding a tablet and a clipboard, pretending she didn't hear the laughter behind her. The event guests sparkled in designer clothes, champagne glasses clinked, and soft violin music floated through the air. But for Emma, it all felt distant, like she was watching life through glass. "Are you sure she's qualified to handle this?" a woman whispered loudly enough for Emma to hear. "She's just an assistant, right?" another voice replied. Event coordinators at this level usually have presence, confidence, style. Emma kept typing, kept smiling, kept pretending she didn't care. Because tonight mattered. Not for the guests. Not for the hotel. For him. For Daniel Hayes, the man she had spent the entire week arranging romantic encounters for, while never admitting she was already in love with him. And tonight was supposed to be the grand finale. But standing there listening to strangers reduce her to just staff, Emma felt something old and painful twist inside her chest. The same feeling she had known her whole life. Being underestimated. Being invisible. Being not enough. What none of them knew, what Daniel himself didn't fully know, was that Emma Lawson was far more than an assistant arranging schedules and lighting plans. She was the reason this entire company still existed. And by the end of this week, everyone would understand that. Emma had met Daniel 3 years earlier when she joined Hayes Global Hospitality as a temporary administrative assistant. At the time, the company was collapsing. Investors were pulling out. Hotels were losing contracts. Staff morale was broken. Daniel, newly appointed CEO after his father's retirement, looked confident in public, but Emma saw the truth during late nights in the office. She saw the exhaustion, the pressure, the loneliness, and quietly, without ever asking for credit, she started fixing things. She reorganized vendor contracts. She found accounting errors saving millions. She redesigned internal communication systems. She even anonymously negotiated a deal that saved their flagship property. Daniel thought the turnaround was teamwork. The board thought it was leadership. Only Emma knew how many nights she cried in empty offices, determined not to let the company fail, because if Daniel failed, everything he had worked for his whole life would collapse. And she couldn't let that happen. Not to him. 6 months ago, something changed. Daniel started dating again after a painful breakup. And Emma, terrified of her own feelings, did what she always did when emotions felt too dangerous. She turned them into work. When Daniel mentioned he wanted to meet someone genuine, someone kind, Emma decided she would help him find that person. If she couldn't be the woman he loved, she would at least help him find happiness. So when the company planned its annual investor celebration week, a 7-day series of luxury experiences, Emma designed every moment carefully. Romantic dinner venues, private yacht sunset networking, charity gala dances, wine tastings designed for conversation, all disguised as business entertainment. All secretly arranged to give Daniel chances to meet someone special. Each night, Emma watched him laugh with potential partners. Each night she smiled. Each night she went home and sat in silence, reminding herself, this is what kindness looks like. This is what love means. Wanting someone else to be happy, even if it destroys you. By day 3, Daniel had noticed something strange. Emma was working harder than ever, but she seemed distant, quieter. Like she was building a perfect world for everyone else while slowly disappearing from it. "Emma," he said one evening after a client dinner, "when do you sleep?" She laughed softly. "When everything is done." "Everything is never done," he replied. "Then I guess I'll never sleep." He studied her face then, like he was trying to solve a puzzle he didn't understand yet. And for one dangerous second, Emma thought he might see her. Really see her. So she changed the subject. Because if he saw her feelings, she wouldn't survive it. Day 5 brought the turning point. Emma had arranged a private charity art auction designed to connect Daniel with high-profile donors, and potentially someone compatible with his life and status. But during the event, a wealthy investor publicly insulted her. "You're surprisingly organized," he said casually, "for someone who probably started as reception staff." The table laughed politely. Emma smiled professionally. Daniel didn't. "Emma designed this entire week," he said coldly, "and saved this company twice before most of you even noticed we were struggling." The room went silent. Emma's heart stopped. Because Daniel never defended people publicly. He was strategic, careful, controlled. But right now he sounded angry, protective. And it terrified her. Because protection meant attention. And attention meant he might start asking questions she couldn't answer. Like why she always stayed late. Why she remembered every small detail about him. Why she knew his coffee order, his stress habits, and exactly when he needed silence. That night, Emma sat alone on the hotel rooftop, reviewing the final event schedule. The last night. The final romantic dinner she had arranged. A private ocean view experience designed for Daniel and a potential partner to connect away from crowds. She stared at the reservation list. And for the first time all week, she couldn't breathe, because she realized something. She had spent 7 days helping him build memories, and none of them included her. Tears slid down her face before she could stop them. Emma? She turned. Daniel stood behind her, concern written all over his face. You disappeared, he said quietly. I was looking for you. I'm fine, she said automatically. You're not. The silence stretched between them, heavy with things neither had ever said. You don't have to do everything alone, he said finally. Emma looked away. If he kept being kind, if he kept looking at her like that, she was going to break. I just want this week to be perfect for you, she whispered. Daniel stepped closer. It already is, he said. And for the first time in 3 years. Emma was afraid she might not be strong enough to keep pretending. But neither of them knew. The real test was coming. Because tomorrow night, the final event, would bring a public betrayal. A shocking revelation about Emma's real power in the company. And a truth Daniel was not prepared to hear. And once that truth came out, nothing between them would ever be the same again. The night they tried to break her, and expose themselves instead. The final night of Investor Week began like a dream. Golden chandeliers lit the grand ocean ballroom. Live piano music floated across marble floors. Luxury brands lined the entrance displays. The city's most powerful business leaders gathered under one roof, smiling, networking, celebrating success. And Emma Lawson stood at the center of it all, invisible as always. She adjusted table placements, confirmed dietary lists, checked lighting cues, and quietly solved 3 last-minute crises before most guests even arrived. But tonight felt different. Heavy. Like the air itself knew something was about to happen. Across the room, Daniel Hayes watched her. Not casually. Not professionally. Intently. Over the past week, something had shifted inside him. Something he didn't fully understand yet. Every time Emma spoke, he noticed it. Every time she walked away, he felt it. And tonight, seeing her move through the room with quiet strength while people overlooked her again, it made something protective rise inside him. Something he could no longer ignore. At 7:42 p.m., the night cracked open. It started with Victor Lang. Major investor. Public philanthropist. Private ego the size of a skyscraper. Victor arrived late, already irritated, already drinking, already looking for someone to blame. And Emma, unfortunately, was closest when he noticed the seating change. Who approved moving my table? Victor snapped loudly, drawing attention. Emma stepped forward calmly. I did, Mr. Lang. It allows better visibility of the stage and easier access for your guests. You, he scoffed. You don't make those decisions. You pass messages. The nearby guest chuckled awkwardly. Emma felt heat crawl up her neck, but her voice stayed steady. I was given full authority to manage tonight's logistics. Victor laughed louder. This is what happens when companies promote assistants beyond their competence. The room quieted. Every word landed like a slap. Emma stood perfectly still. Years of training, years of swallowing pain, years of choosing dignity over reaction holding her in place. But inside, something old cracked open. Every teacher who underestimated her. Every job interviewer who dismissed her background. Every person who saw her calm personality and assumed weakness. And now, in front of the most powerful room in the industry, it was happening again. Daniel stepped forward. Victor, he said, voice calm but sharp as glass. Emma has more authority tonight than anyone except me. Victor turned, surprised, then amused. Daniel, you're too young to understand hierarchy. Staff is staff. Emma closed her eyes briefly. Please don't make this worse. Please don't turn this into a scene. But Daniel didn't step back. Emma is the reason this company is still profitable, he said. The room went silent. Victor smirked. Then she should try looking like it. The insult hung in the air, quiet, ugly, undeniable. And for the first time in 3 years, Emma felt humiliation burn into anger. Not loud anger. Not explosive anger. Cold, steady, unshakable anger. The kind that changes lives. Then the instant karma began. Actually, came a calm voice from behind Victor. Mr. Lang is correct about one thing. Everyone turned. Chairwoman Eleanor Price stepped forward, the most powerful woman on the board, known for never speaking publicly unless it mattered. Emma's stomach dropped. Had she done something wrong? Eleanor continued. Emma Lawson does deserve a title that reflects her true role. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Victor smiled smugly, thinking he was being supported. Then Eleanor looked directly at him. Because Emma Lawson is not an assistant. The room stilled completely. She is the silent partner who prevented this company's bankruptcy 18 months ago. Gasp. Daniel froze. Emma's heart pounded violently. Eleanor continued calmly, like she was announcing weather forecasts. She negotiated emergency financing using her own private inheritance as collateral. She redesigned our entire internal system structure. She personally stopped 3 hostile acquisition attempts. Victor's face drained of color. She has been operating under confidentiality agreements at her request, Eleanor said. Because she wanted success to belong to the company, not her. The silence became electric. Emma felt exposed, vulnerable, terrified. She never wanted this revealed publicly. Never wanted attention. Never wanted power displays. Never wanted Daniel to look at her differently. Slowly Daniel turned toward her. Confusion. And something deeper, something almost like awe. You saved us, he whispered. Emma swallowed hard. I saved what you built, she said quietly. Victor tried to recover. Well, he muttered, if that's true, it should have been communicated. Eleanor smiled politely. It was. Just not to you. Laughter rippled through the room. Victor's humiliation was complete, public, undeniable, instant. But Emma didn't feel victory. She felt exposed. Because Daniel was still staring at her like he didn't recognize the woman standing in front of him. And that hurt more than any insult ever could. The gala continued. But nothing felt normal anymore. Guests now approached Emma with respect. Executives shook her hand carefully. People who ignored her for years suddenly wanted conversations. And Emma hated it. Because she knew this wasn't about her character. It was about power. And she had never wanted people to respect her because she was powerful. She wanted them to respect her because she was human. Later that night, on the empty balcony overlooking the ocean, Daniel finally found her alone. You lied to me, he said quietly. Emma looked down. I didn't lie. You hid who you were. I didn't want things to change. They already have. Silence. Ocean waves crashed below. I trusted you, Daniel said softly. And now I don't know if I ever really knew you. The words cut deeper than anything Victor said earlier. Tears burned Emma's eyes. I was trying to protect what we had, she whispered. Daniel ran a hand through his hair, overwhelmed. Emma, you risked everything for this company. For me. And you let me believe you were just. Just what? She asked softly. He couldn't finish. Because now he saw it. Every late night. Every saved crisis. Every moment she quietly carried responsibility he never noticed. And guilt hit him like a wave. I need time, he said finally. Emma nodded. Because kindness sometimes means letting people process truth. Even when it breaks your heart. As he walked away, Emma realized something painful but freeing. She had spent years loving someone quietly. Saving his dreams. Protecting his future. And maybe, just maybe, it was finally time to stop being invisible. But she didn't know yet. The biggest challenge was still coming. Because Victor Lang wasn't finished. And tomorrow, he would try one last move to destroy her reputation. And that move would trigger a chain of events that would force Daniel to choose. Power. Or truth. The truth he wasn't ready to face. And the past she never wanted known. The morning after the gala felt quieter than it should have. Too quiet. Emma Lawson arrived at headquarters earlier than usual, hoping to disappear into work before anyone could stop her in hallways to offer congratulations, admiration, or worse, curiosity. The security guard at the entrance stood straighter when he saw her now. Receptionists smiled differently. Executives nodded respectfully. Nothing about her had changed. And yet everything had. She moved through the lobby with the same calm, measured steps she always had. But inside she felt like she was standing under a spotlight she never asked for. Because power, she was learning, was loud, even when you tried to keep it quiet. Upstairs, tension already waited. Daniel was in his office, staring at a file he hadn't read for 20 minutes. Emma's file. Not financial records. Not board documents. Her personnel file, thin, almost empty. Because she had always refused titles. Refused recognition. refused promotions that would make people look closer. Now he understood why. And it made his chest ache with a complicated mix of admiration and guilt. 3 years. 3 years of her standing beside him while carrying weight he didn't even know existed. 3 years of him thanking teams, investors, consultants, while the woman who saved everything sat quietly in meeting corners taking notes. He rubbed his eyes. How many times had he walked past her without really seeing her? The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Hayes, Mr. Lang is here to see you. He says it's urgent." Daniel's jaw tightened. Victor Lang again. "Send him in." Victor entered smiling, too calm, too controlled. "Daniel," he said smoothly, "I think we need to discuss your assistant." Daniel didn't correct him this time, because anger would give Victor what he wanted. "I think," Daniel said evenly, "you need to choose your next words carefully." Victor sat, folding his hands like he owned the room. "I'm concerned," he said, "about undisclosed financial influence, hidden control structures. Silent partners usually indicate hidden agendas." Daniel's eyes hardened. "You're implying Emma is manipulating the company?" "I'm implying transparency matters to investors." Daniel leaned forward. "Emma saved this company when most investors, including you, were preparing exit strategies." Victor smiled thinly. "Or she positioned herself to gain control later." The accusation hung heavy. And Daniel hated how much it shook him, not because he believed it but because he realized how little he truly knew about Emma's past. Victor saw the hesitation and pressed harder. Background checks can reveal interesting things. Across the building, Emma felt it before she saw it. The shift, the whispers, the glances. By lunchtime, her inbox held 3 anonymous messages questioning her authority, her past, her intentions. Victor was moving. And he was moving fast. By 2:17 p.m. the first article went live. Hidden power. Who is Emma Lawson really? Speculation. Half-truths. Selective facts. And one thing Emma had spent her entire adult life hiding. Her family history. At 2:43 p.m., Daniel burst into the executive floor conference room where Emma sat alone reviewing vendor contracts like nothing was happening. "You need to tell me the truth," he said. Emma looked up slowly. "About what?" "About your past. About your money. About why you hid everything." Silence filled the room. Emma closed her laptop carefully. Because she knew this moment would come one day. She just didn't think it would feel like betrayal. "I grew up wealthy," she said simply. Daniel blinked. "What?" "My grandfather built one of the largest private logistics companies in Europe." Daniel stared. "You're that Lawson family?" Emma nodded once. "But when my parents died, the board tried to control everything. They tried to control me. I spent 10 years fighting legal battles just to own what was legally mine." Daniel sat slowly. "So you walked away?" "Yes." "Why?" Emma looked out the window. "Because power without purpose feels empty. I wanted to build something, not inherit it." "And Hayes Global?" "I believed in you," she said quietly. The words hit harder than any accusation. Daniel's voice softened. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted you to trust me for who I am," she said. "Not what I could give you." Silence again. Heavy. Emotional. Honest. Then Daniel's phone buzzed. Another article. More speculation. Victor wasn't just attacking her reputation. He was trying to force the board to question her legitimacy. To push her out. To regain control. That was when Daniel made his decision. And he didn't realize it yet. But it would change both their lives forever. At 4 p.m., Daniel called an emergency board meeting. By 5 p.m., every major stakeholder sat in the room. Victor looked confident. Emma looked calm. Daniel stood at the head of the table. And for the first time since becoming CEO, he spoke from emotion, not strategy. "Emma Lawson saved this company," he said. "Not because she had to. Because she chose to." He turned to the board. "She never asked for recognition. Never asked for power. Never asked for control." Then he looked directly at Victor. "Some people invest money and expect loyalty. Some people invest effort and expect results. Emma invested belief." The room went silent. "Anyone who questions her integrity," Daniel said, voice steady, "questions my leadership. And I will not allow that." Victor's influence cracked in real time. Because power backed by truth is impossible to fight. After the meeting, Emma found Daniel alone in the hallway. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Yes," he said quietly. "I did." Their eyes met. And something unspoken passed between them. Something deeper than business. Something years in the making. But neither of them said it. Not yet. Because sometimes the hardest truth isn't about power. It's about love. And both of them were standing on the edge of a confession that could change everything. And tomorrow, Victor would make his final move. A move meant to destroy Emma publicly. A move that would instead reveal who truly deserved respect. And force Daniel to finally choose safety or her. The day truth won. And love finally stopped hiding. The final confrontation came on a day that looked completely ordinary. Blue sky. Normal traffic. Employees walking into headquarters holding coffee cups and checking emails. But inside Hayes Global, everything was about to change. Victor Lang made his last move at 9:12 a.m. A press conference announcement. Public. Aggressive. Calculated. By 10 a.m., major business news networks were broadcasting his statement. Investors deserve transparency. Hayes Global has allowed undisclosed private influence to operate inside leadership structures. He didn't say Emma's name. But he didn't need to. The implication was loud enough. Stock prices dipped slightly. Social media speculation exploded. Competitors watched, waiting. And Emma sat in her office, reading every headline with calm eyes. Because this was exactly what she always feared. Not losing money. Not losing power. Losing trust. At 10:23 a.m., Daniel walked into her office without knocking. "We're going public," he said. Emma looked up slowly. "You don't have to do that." "Yes," he said again, stronger this time. "I do." At noon, Hayes Global called an emergency media briefing. Cameras. Reporters. Shareholders watching worldwide. Emma stood backstage, heart steady but heavy. She never wanted attention. Never wanted recognition. But today wasn't about comfort. It was about truth. And sometimes truth requires standing where the world can see you. Daniel stepped onto the stage first. Flashes exploded. Microphones lifted. And for the first time in his career, he spoke without a script. 3 years ago, he said, Hayes Global was days away from collapse. Silence filled the room. We were losing contracts, losing investor confidence, losing direction. He paused. Then one person stepped forward. Quietly, privately, without asking for recognition. He turned toward the side stage. Emma. Emma stepped into the light. The room exploded with whispers. Because this time she wasn't standing behind leadership. She was standing beside it. Daniel continued. Emma Lawson used her own private resources to stabilize this company. She redesigned our operational systems. She stopped acquisition attempts that would have cost thousands of jobs. Reporters scrambled to write. Cameras zoomed. But more importantly, Daniel said, voice softening, she believed in this company when most people didn't. Including me. Emma's breath caught. He turned fully toward her now. And today I want to correct the biggest mistake I've ever made. The room leaned forward. I thanked everyone except the person who deserved it most. Silence. Emotional. Heavy. Real. Victor watched from the back of the press room. And for the first time, he knew he had lost. Not because Emma was powerful, but because she was trusted. And trust is the only currency power can't buy. Then Daniel did something no one expected. He reached for Emma's hand. Not dramatic. Not theatrical. Just real. And the cameras caught everything. Emma Lawson is not hidden influence, he said. She is the reason Hayes Global has a future. Applause started slowly. Then grew. Then filled the entire room. Victor tried releasing a counterstatement that afternoon. But it didn't matter. Because now the narrative had changed. From suspicion. To gratitude. From rumor. To proof. And within 48 hours, Victor's investment group quietly withdrew from influence negotiations. Instant karma didn't come as punishment. It came as irrelevance. Because once truth is visible, manipulation loses oxygen. 3 days later, Emma finally felt the world slow down. She stood on the rooftop terrace of headquarters, the same place she used to hide during stressful nights. City lights glowed below. Wind moved softly through her hair. And behind her, she heard footsteps she would recognize anywhere. Daniel. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then he said quietly, I almost lost you without realizing what you were to me. Emma swallowed. You didn't lose me. I could have. He stepped beside her. I kept thinking leadership meant control, he said. But you showed me it means responsibility and humility. Emma smiled softly. You were always capable of that. He turned toward her. No, he said. I was capable of success. Pause. You made me capable of being good. Her Her chest tightened. Because those words mattered more than any public recognition ever could. "I need to say something," Daniel said. And Emma knew. She had known for days. But hearing it still made her heart race. "I spent years trusting you with my business decisions," he said. "Then I trusted you with my worst days." He stepped closer. "And somewhere along the way, I started trusting you with my heart too." Tears filled Emma's eyes. Because sometimes love doesn't arrive like fireworks. Sometimes it arrives like sunlight, slowly, steadily, until you realize it's everywhere. "I was afraid," she admitted. "Of what?" "Of being seen." He shook his head gently. "You were never invisible to me," he said. "I just didn't understand what I was seeing yet." The city lights shimmered around them. The world kept moving. But for the first time in years, Emma felt still. Safe. When he kissed her, it wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. Certain. Like something that had been waiting for the right moment for years. And Emma realized something powerful in that moment. Love isn't about grand gestures. It's about who stands beside you when truth is hardest. Months later, Hayes Global expanded internationally. Employee retention rose to record levels. Company culture shifted toward recognition, fairness, and transparency. Because Emma insisted on one policy above all. Respect everyone, especially the people no one notices. Victor Lang became a cautionary story in business ethics courses. Not as a villain, but as a lesson. Power without integrity always collapses. And Emma? She finally stopped hiding. Not because she needed recognition, but because she learned something stronger than fear. Being seen by the right people is worth everything.